Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today we are going to take a look at the new moon in Aquarius that is taking place at the same time that Mercury will be conjoining Pluto in Aquarius. This is happening today into tomorrow. And what I'm going to do today is outline some of the major themes to watch for, and then we're going to take a look at where this lands in your horoscope, so you can listen for your sun or rising sign. If you listen for your rising sign, as always, that horoscope is going to correspond with the whole sign house version of your birth chart, which will accurately depict the whole sign house transit of the new moon in Aquarius with Pluto and Mercury as well. So that's the one I recommend listening to, but you can listen to whatever horoscope you like, sun or rising. So that is our goal for today. Before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe. We did some research over the summer and found out that a lot of people who watch regularly are not yet subscribed. It's free to do so, and it really helps us grow our channel and community. So we appreciate you doing that. We're seeing if we can't get to 80,000 backers by the spring equinox. We're closing in on 74 right now, so we're making some good pace here. You can find transcripts of any of these daily talks on the website, nightlightastrology.com. And I'm going to take you over there right now because we have some free events coming up. If you go to Speaker Series under the Events tab, you are going to see that starting this weekend, we have a speaker series, winter speaker series that's taking place. Our Horary course director, Raimundo, will be giving a talk on perfections this Saturday. Stormy Grace on lunar phases in love. Timothy Desmond on near-death experiences in astrology. So these are going to be some great talks. You can register there for free. And if you cannot attend live, you get the recording afterward, as we do with all of our live events. And if you go to live talks, you're going to see the next 3 webinars for February, March, and April have been posted. We're looking at Venus retrograde in February, Venus through the fire, unpacking the mysteries and magic of Venus retrograde. That'll prep us for Venus's retrograde in March. In March, I'm doing a talk on the 3rd house. And in April, I am doing a talk on essential dignities and what they are, why they are real, and how they work. So we'll be some good topics coming up. I hope to see you there. And like I said, with any of those talks, if you can't attend the live webinar, you get the link to attend live, but you also get the recording afterward. So on that note, let us now turn our attention to the real-time clock, and let's take a look at the new moon in Aquarius. I think this is an important new moon because this is our first new moon in the sign of Aquarius since Pluto has ingressed into the sign of Aquarius to stay for good. It hits a little bit different when an outer planet has moved into a sign and will have no more retrogrades into the previous sign. It is as if now the work that we've been just kind of previewing over the past couple of years is being established and starting a process that is now like firmly rooted. And so I like to look at the earliest transits. We looked at the Sun conjunct Pluto last week. Now we've got Mercury conjoining Pluto, and we also have the new moon in Aquarius, all pointing towards some of the first major developments of Pluto's ingress into Aquarius. You really get a feel for what Pluto's up to in a month like this. So what I want to do is remind us of a few of the significations of the sign of Aquarius and Pluto in Aquarius in general, and then take a look at where this lands by whole sign horoscope. So first of all, let's just look at the timeline here and kind of refresh on that. So we can see if I go back by some hours here, excuse me, that Mercury's conjunction with Pluto occurs pretty early excuse me, let me go back here. Here we go. So you'll see that Mercury conjoining Pluto right there is taking place early morning on the 29th. That's tomorrow. So we have the, did I say today earlier? I think I might have. Anyway, so you'll see that the two are coming together early in the morning tonight into tomorrow. And then we have the new moon coming through as well. And that new moon comes through early in the morning tomorrow morning. So a lot of this you will be feeling and noticing today into tomorrow. And that is what we're focusing on. So let's say a few things now, and let me just eliminate everything from our perspective for the sake of these horoscopes, except for the planets in Aquarius. Now, a few things. One is that the sign of Aquarius takes place in the middle of zodiacal winter. This is all symbolic. It comes from the relative orientation of the northern hemisphere, but it's archetypal, and anyone can participate in the symbolic orientation of this system because it's not literal or causal. It doesn't matter what hemisphere you're in. So the point being that in the middle of zodiacal winter, we're talking about the gradual rising of the light from darkness. The sun is now looking up to the pole star. Since Capricorn, it's been rising up from the standpoint of the northern hemisphere. And so that symbolism points toward light emerging out of darkness, which is where we get such a strong future orientation from. I was looking at there's a gentleman that came from Nightlight Programs, who's a good friend and now a colleague, and his name's Matthew Kenny. And he compared Aquarius to the star card, and I'm sure other people have as well, in a recent post he made on Instagram, and I really liked it. One of the things you can think about with the sun rising out of the darkness and moving up toward the pole star is the idea of a new vision and an orientation toward the future and toward something coming out of the darkness, where the darkness might represent chaos, or the darkness might represent uncertainty, or it may represent the past, or it may even represent the status quo. And the light kind of rising out of it is about future aspirations, ideas that could somehow carry us forward. And that's relative, of course. One group may have a completely different set of ideas about what progress looks like or what a better future looks like, or may have different dreams of paradise or utopia from one religion to the next. But that perennial need to find a vision that brings us forward into the future, upward toward the stars, that is truly Aquarian. And often this is what people miss about the ancient signification of Aquarius in relation to Saturn. Because Saturn was the dimmest and most distant of the visible planets, Saturn was connected very closely to the realm of the stars and the mind of God that lay beyond the spheres of the planets. It was the closest to it. And so often Saturn was associated with people like monks and scholars and mystics and people who had kind of a distance from the world, or who were interested in things that lay beyond the world, and maybe in things like meditation and silence and solitude and separation from a normal social life. And so Saturn is also associated with things like outcasts and people who are marginalized. But interestingly, Saturn could also be associated with everything that is within the bounds of Saturn, and therefore things like the status quo, the sort of normal structures of power and authority and the various hierarchies that exist. And it can be associated with all of those things as well. So there's a real like duality with Saturn. And not surprisingly, Saturn ruled the opposition, which is the aspect of duality. Saturn was also sometimes called neuter, which speaks to the fact that Saturn is not only about limits and rigidity and structure, but also about fluidity between boundaries and fluidity across thresholds, which is also something that Saturn demarcates. And it's sitting at the edge of the visible cosmos. It demarcates the boundary between the world and the unknown, or the celestial or divine that lay beyond. And so in the sign of Aquarius, we have this air sign that's reaching upward toward the light of the divine. And that is associated with things like progressive idealism. Again, relative, different groups have different ideas of that. Progressive idealism, technology, the future, the excitement about things that could somehow carry us forward or take us beyond our current limits and into something bigger or better. So these kinds of themes are very much a part of the entrance of Pluto into the sign of Aquarius, where there are going to be, let's put it this way, there can be tremendous power struggles with respect to what progressive visions look like. One group has a very different definition than another. Progressive visions of the future may be put in the hands of very few people with a lot of wealth. For example, Pluto in Aquarius is associated with the French and American revolutions, the last time it was there. And so we also have clashes, tremendous revolutionary clashes about what constitutes the best or brightest future, which can happen on all different levels collectively. But on a personal level, we're looking at in what way is our life transforming, and what visions, what stars will we follow to something that constitutes a better or brighter future? What is the plan and vision that's taking hold? Think of that star card again in the tarot. What draws us into um, a next evolutionary phase in our life, and what do we have to leave behind? And what are the shadows of those impulses to improve or evolve or move forward as well? The shadows are always Plutonian, right? The Pluto is like Hades. It's Greek. Pluto's the Roman name. Greek counterpart being Hades is the ruler of the underworld, that subterranean place where we may not always be aware of the hidden motivations or the certain elements of corruption or ego or lust and the desire for power or wealth that can lie within even the most progressive looking visions of the future, or the most exciting technologies, or whatever the case might be. Pluto in Aquarius can be so airy and lofty that it can have us losing touch with something animistic, something that is powerful and needs no big ideas or technologies. It's there's an ever-present wellspring of life and beauty that's right here. And so sometimes in the name of progress and technology in the future, Aquarius will dissociate and lose touch with what is most human, what is most animal. These are all different possibilities to consider right now as Mercury conjoins Pluto and gives some voice to these ideas, visions, plans, dreams, goals, starry destinations. And the new moon in Aquarius further deepens the initial impact that Pluto in Aquarius wants to make. It's giving us some clues as to where things are heading, some initial indications of what Pluto's very long stay in this sign is all about. Now, I do think that this is different from the earlier ingresses of Pluto into Aquarius, because in those signs, there wasn't the sense of Pluto being established in the new temple. Now it is established in Aquarius, and so we're going to start seeing some of the first major shifts. You can date this back to 2020. In December and January of 2020 into 21, we saw the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction at the 0 degree marker of Aquarius. Pluto's just moved back through that place. And so there is a way in which you may even see some of the developments dating back to that time in your life starting to be pulled forward in even stronger ways now. So remember all of this. We have the new moon in Aquarius tomorrow with Mercury conjoining Pluto. I think that what will help now is to turn our attention to where this lands in your chart by whole sign house. So I'm going to put this up on the screen, and we're just going to briefly remind you of the topics for each sign. So we'll go through Aries through Pisces, and I'm just going to say a little bit about what you might notice. What kind of, whoa, big circles out. All right. You know what? I'm going to let you stay. You deserve it. You have a vision too. Okay. So Aries rising, we have in the 11th house, which is actually it blocks kind of blocks the house number there. Okay. So we have in the 11th house, a place of community and groups and friends and colleagues. The social dimension of your life that is both public and likely professional, that represents something of the social contexts that have a relation to your ambitions and maybe your ideals or your larger social values, are undergoing significant transformation over the next couple of decades with Pluto in this 11th house. But now we're seeing maybe one of the first cycles that really points toward this evolutionary development for Aries. This is a new moon that may present new connections, new fields, new industries, new people, new organizations, new allies, or a change in your social values and the social fabric of your life that is going to become really important, not just now, but for the foreseeable future, with Pluto now starting to really do its work in this house. So consider that social and communal dimension of your life undergoing some significant changes and a seeding point right now. For Tauruses, we are seeing this as the starting of a new cycle with respect to your work in the world, the environment of your career, the voicing that you have publicly and professionally, a new cycle of change or transformation with respect to the kind of work you do or how you do your work, as well as new visions that provide maybe some deeper connections to collectives. The Aquarius 10th house is often connected to things that are intellectual, technological, a little bit, those broad, vast sort of Aquarian systems of intelligence, technology, mind. And so something is shifting for Tauruses here. We're seeing this major emphasis on the place of your career, which can mean there are changes in the work environment or with people who you work with or for. There can also be changes in title or the direction you're taking your career in. And you're going to start to see some of that really taking hold this month as the entirety of the lunation cycle plays out. So watch for action in the career house for you Tauruses out there. Now for Geminis, we're looking at this new moon with Mercury conjunct Pluto in the 9th house, a place that is associated with teachers, gurus, professors, institutions of places of higher learning. It's about those horizon expanding experiences or spiritual practices and pilgrimages that you make throughout your life that expand your heart and deepen your understanding of reality. This is a Dharma house in ancient Indian astrology. It's connected with the way in which we learn about truth in the universe. And when we do so, we also deepen and connect to ourselves, deepen our connection to ourselves, and understand more about what makes us tick and who we are and what we're supposed to bring into the world. So this is an educational transit this month. It's a transit that focuses on values, beliefs, philosophy, conviction, religion, spirituality, teachers, learning. Think about that as having a real voice in your life right now for Geminis. We're going to move forward to Cancers, and we see this new moon with Mercury and Pluto in the 8th house, a place of karmic contracts, a place of debts, and a place of the blessings and benefits that come through the different social contracts in your life. In what way are things shifting or changing due to a partner's money or finances or joint or shared assets and resources in your life, especially often through marriage? Is your partner's job changing? Are there changes happening in your partner's work life or family? These are all things that could come up in the 8th house. There's also transitions. The 8th house is a place where we pay off debts or karma is cleared and old soul contracts may be released as new ones begin. There is a signature here of also looking at fears, anxieties, and maybe some new ways of thinking about things that can help you overcome various fears and anxieties that you have. It's a common 8th house theme, especially with Mercury there and Pluto. The other thing, of course, will be about the process of death and the letting go of old things as new things are being established. The 8th house has a connection to death, which is often figurative or metaphorical, not literal, but letting go of things so that new bonds and new agreements or arrangements can come in. There may also be some emphasis on the clearing of debt or new investments or things like that. Let's go on to Leo. For Leo, this lands in your 8th house. And we are thinking, 7th house, excuse me. And now we're thinking about the house of relationships, love, intimacy. Perhaps new relationships are beginning or important. Transformational events, conversations are taking place within current or existing relationships. Maybe you're being asked to take an objective look at something and step out of your own ego's perspective, something that 7th house Aquarius transits love to do for Leo risings. You may also be seeing something shift or change for a partner or something within a relationship that's changing that, may represent a moment of healing or of deeper learning. Sometimes relationships have to end with transits like this, including Pluto in the 7th, but your life is certainly transforming as key relationships are providing new insights or offering opportunities for growth. Let's go forward into Virgo. For Virgo rising, we see the new moon along with Mercury's conjunction to Pluto in the 6th house. This is a house an Arta house that is associated with work and ambition, with the development of our work in the world through things like learning and skill development, practice and hard work. This is the labor that we do to build or develop anything that we think is worthwhile. And it is therefore a house of chopping wood and carrying water. We get things done in this house through putting our blood, sweat, and tears into things. What are the new projects? What are the new practices? What are the new dreams and ideals or ambitions that you are now going to start working hard to accomplish? There may be new dreams or work, a new apprenticeship, a new process of sacrificial work and effort, or a new process of creative endeavor that is going to require a tremendous amount of effort. But if we follow such a path, in the end, it usually pays off in the sixth house. We have to be comfortable with going through a phase of a lot of sacrifice and a lot of effort. We also think about this house in terms of sickness and in terms of the need to overcome or address various afflictions or diseases. We look at this as a house that, with these transits, could introduce new healing technologies or some concern for social welfare and some degree of social service or sacrifice on behalf of other people. All of those things could be coming forth for you in the sixth house right now. There's also in the sixth house sometimes an aura of conflict. This house is called the joy of Mars and is sometimes associated with destined karmic conflicts. What karmic conflicts do you find yourself engaged in right now that may be tied to things happening in the collective? For Virgos, that could be something to watch for as well. For Libras, we move this into the fifth house. And in the fifth house, we are seeing that the place is one of creativity. And looking at the fifth house as a place of romance, creativity, it's a house with a lot of heart that connects us to other people through acts of spontaneity, romance, devotion, love. And again, like, this is a house that is associated with creative production, whether it's a baby or a child, or whether it's a piece of art. For Libras right now, I wonder what kind of creative awakening is starting to take place in your life. What kind of creative transformation is at work? Are your views, your ideological perspectives, are they changing? Are they seeking some kind of creative expression? Are relationships with other people shifting your views right now? And is that a good thing or a bad thing? The fifth house is a house of social and creative change. And often, because it was called the joy of Venus, when you see transits like this in the fifth, you think to yourself, to what degree am I creatively influencing those around me? And to what degree are other people having an influence on me? The exchanges of ideas in relationships may be key for Libras right now. And you may also be noticing that there is a shift with respect to your heart and its orientation in the world and the different visions of the future that are coming in and having a creative impact on you. So let's consider those. And also, anything to do with children could be more pronounced this month for Libras. All right, let's move on to Scorpio. Scorpio, we see this new moon with the Mercury conjunction to Pluto in the fourth house of home, family, and property. A place that is connected to the ancestral past, a place connected to our living space, the private sphere, the inner life, as well as our parents and the karma of our family. And so with Pluto entering this house, there is a pretty deep level of excavation starting to happen with respect to home, family, parents. And it is also the beginning of a new cycle with respect to things like your home and family, your living environment. There could be new values, ideas, or visions of the future that are starting to take root in your life, and in time will lead to perhaps things like a relocation or sometimes transformations in the family that come along when you know that someone in the family is ready to leave their body soon, a grandparent ready to pass, parents who are splitting up, people that are getting married, babies that are being made. The fourth house, Pluto, with the new moon suggests new cycles opening up with respect to the family constellation, which could mean that these energies express themselves in a wide variety of ways within the overall family constitution. Now, the other thing that could come up would be changing views or philosophies with respect to how you live and work in the private sphere of life with family members, or what values are affecting or impacting things like family, home, and living environment. So interesting stuff for Scorpios. We move along to Sagittarians, and we have this congregation of energies, Mercury conjoining Pluto, the new moon in Aquarius in the third house, which is a place, among other things, of mind communication. This is a place of self-expression through things like words and ideas and thoughts. It's a place where we seek to express our inner life out into the world, and among peers, and also things like siblings live here. And so for Sagittarians, there could be a significant change of mind that's taking place, and new things to communicate, or new ways of communicating, and new values that are coming forth from your inner life that need to find a way into the world around you. The immediate environment is depicted by the third house, and we see here that it's being impacted by ideas, thoughts, ideologies, words, beliefs. Systems or structures or paradigms are shifting and changing as your inner life is changing, and then seeking to express itself in the world around you. So it's quite a mental, intellectual, kind of perceptual shift that's depicted for Sagittarians. That could take place through a variety of things, including things like what you're learning, studying, thinking about, what technologies you're using, and things that you feel that you need to communicate or write about or talk about. Let's go forward to Capricorn rising. For Capricorn rising, we see this congregation of planets in the second house, which is the place of money and assets, resources, wealth, acquisitions, possessions. This is a house of income and expenditures. With a new moon here and Pluto working into this house, we are seeing a deep level of transformation with respect to how you earn, what you have, your spending or your philosophy, or the intelligence by means of which you take care of things like money and assets, time, energy, and resources. There may be a new cycle here with respect to things like work and earning power, or with things like expenditures and assets or possessions, new things you're purchasing, or maybe even new technologies or new forms of business, new philosophies around work and money, and a significant shift with respect to these things that will pave the way for a new cycle in your life around assets and resources. This can also be about the people you rely on as assets or resources, what they provide you with, and how they help you or hinder you. And so thinking about people as assets and resources in this house is also an important thing for Capricorns right now. For Aquarians, we see this taking place in your first house, the house of Dharma, of identity. This is the house without which these qualities that are depicted in the first house through its ruler in your chart, without which you wouldn't be you. And so we're seeing something quite existential for Aquarians right now, which has to do with a very deep level of personal change and transformation. There are things from the unconscious that need to come up and out. This is a cycle in which you may find that you're giving voice to new things within yourself, new ideas, new values, or you're going through paradigmatic change that is both ideological, mental, philosophical, but also very personal, maybe even physical, maybe even with respect to things like your body or your health. So a new cycle of growth for Aquarians who are getting this Plutonian work of transformation in the house of identity, body, spirit, psychology. Very, very personal for Aquarians right now. Finally, for Pisceans, we see the Mercury-Pluto conjunction in the 12th house. I'm going to back this up by a day because we're getting a little far out now. We see the Mercury-Pluto conjunction in the 12th house with the new moon in the 12th house. And what I find interesting about this is that I think the 12th house for outer planets is probably the hardest to consciously locate, because it is in a house that by definition was thought of as a kind of unconscious blind spot. And so there are shifts that are happening on very deep levels, the full effects or consequences of which we are going to only be vaguely aware of right now if you're a Pisces. These changes may be social, cultural, ideological, intellectual, paradigmatic, and yet you may only sense on some very, subconscious level that these changes are starting to take place. One thing I do like about a transit like this is that we are going to see a new moon in the 12th brings the process of illumination to bear on the charts of Pisces right now. So Pisceans. So in other words, with Mercury conjoining Pluto and a new moon in this house, it is possible that some of those unconscious dynamics of change that Pluto in the 12th indicates you're going to become more aware of in this cycle. You're going to start noticing what things or people or groups or ideas or collective influences are positive or which are more stressful and potentially toxic or negative. You are going to be looking at the way in which subtle paradigms that you entertain or participate in are having real impacts on you. You're going to become conscious of what constitutes an undermining influence versus a healthy supportive one. Some of those things are going to be made more conscious this cycle for you as a Pisces. You may also have to look at what groups of people or what social dimensions of life are worth caring about. There's a way in which the 12th house can engender compassion within us because we see who's hurt or lost or broken, or we see those parts within ourselves as well. And that can lend itself to things like charity, compassion, service work for other human beings that is born out of a deeper understanding of what people are suffering through. So watch for those influences to have a heart-shifting impact on you this month as well. All right, we have made it through a little set of house reminders for all 12 signs. I hope that this has been useful, that we gave a little archetypal breakdown and a little relevant information about those whole sign houses in your chart that it will land. The reason that I recommend your rising sign, and I repeat this all the time, is because all horoscopes are made in the exact same way. Whether it's sun, moon, or rising, you use a whole sign house birth chart with whatever sign you're reading for on the ascendant. So the only way in which your sun, moon, or rising would actually correlate with your birth chart is if you're listening to your sun or moon horoscope and you actually have that in the first house of your birth chart. Otherwise, if you listen for your rising sign, the benefit of doing that is that the horoscope, which is always placing the sign in the first house and reading all the transits according to that orientation, that will actually correspond with the whole sign house version of your birth chart. So that's why I recommend listening to it. But if you happen to have sun in the same sign as your rising sign, then lucky you, because then the sun sign and the rising sign will be one and the same, and you'll get a little of both. But anyway, that's it for today. I hope you're having a good one, and we will see you again tomorrow. Bye, everyone.